Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of The Extra Point here on KLAA. I am your host, Roland Rainey. As always, you can call me R2, and I'm joined with my fellow colleagues, Jeremy Coleman from Indiana and Justice Gordon from New York. And we are going to quickly get into our quick snap recap covering week 4. Guys, the Bengals and the Jags. The Bengals pull that one off, 24-21. But it was great to see two young quarterbacks go head-to-head, both first-round picks. But at the end of the day, Joe Burrow had the Bengals looking smooth. What's your guys' thoughts on that game?
Yeah, Joe Burrow definitely got the ball around his weapons. Tyler Boyd had a very big day, came up with some big-time clutch catches. Joe Mixon was sprinkled in a little bit, but give a lot of credit to Cincinnati. They took a punch right in the first half. They were down 14-0 at half. Looked like the Jaguars were going to run away with this game. And, they fought back. They made it a game and won it just from, with another game-winning field goal from fifth-round rookie Evan McPherson. So kudos to the Bengals for getting a much-needed win. It would have felt very disheartening after their big loss against Pittsburgh the week before, if they would have found a way to lose that game.
Yeah, just like Jeremy said, it was a tale of two halves for me. Jaguars came out strong in the first half, went up 14-0. Trevor Lawrence looked great in the first half. He was channeling his inner Lamar Jackson with the zone read right there. He was running the ball all over the place.
Inner
he looked
Lamar.
great running the ball. But then the second half, they made the adjustments. Joe Burrow looked great. Their tight end had a phenomenal game, 2 touchdowns. He was able to sit in the zones well and find the soft spots. I thought he played well. It was a solid win for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think after that Steelers win, like Jeremy said, it was big that they come back and build on that momentum, and they sure did it.
Hey, for any coach out there, one of the things you can learn from this Bengals and Jags game is you saw Trevor Lawrence out there, but also you saw their running game was very effective. You go into halftime, you make adjustments, and guess what? The Bengals came out and took it to them. So perfect example of how to go into halftime, make adjustments, and take advantage of your opponents. Then we had the Jets versus the Titans. The Jets pull off their first win of the season, 27-24. Look, the Titans are no slouches. You got King Henry back there. For whatever reasons, the Jets were able to pull this one off. Of course, Justice, I am coming out to you in New York. How do you feel about this Jets win?
I feel great. I picked the Jets going into this game. I got a little heat for that pick. Everyone thought they would lose that game.
You did get a lot of heat. There's a lot of folks on social media who were at the Extra Point Facebook page who were taking it to you about your Jets selection.
Yeah, I got some heat for it. It was well deserved. The Jets looked terrible, but I just thought this was a classic trap game for the Titans. They were down Julio Jones. They were down A.J. Brown. Ryan Tannehill didn't have much to work with. It was pretty much the Derrick Henry show. But I think C.J. Mosley in that linebacking core in that front seven, he did a great job trying to contain him as much as possible. And Zach Wilson, it was his coming-out game. He played phenomenal. I thought he looked pretty good overall. And it was a great win.
Yeah, the other nice thing the Jets did is they ran the ball very well, too. Tevin Coleman had a very nice game. Michael Carter supplemented him. They took it to the Titans. The Titans front seven got run on, and that was a big reason why Zach Wilson had more time to throw, looked more comfortable in the offense as a whole. As far as the Titans go, they really were missing players, like you said, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. They were relying on guys like Tyrell Batson and Nick Westbrook to step up and take over the hold. Their offense is always going to be the King Henry machine, feed him a million carries, and let's see if we can keep the game close. It just wasn't the recipe for success this week.
Well, and then we had the Giants versus the Saints. Giants was able to pull off the win, 27-21. Now, I will say, look, I think a lot of folks are happy that the New York Giants were able to pull off a win. But what does it really say about the Saints? The Saints have been up and down all around. There seem to be some inconsistencies there. So what's your thoughts on the Saints losing this one to the Giants?
Yeah, this was a tough loss for the Saints. I thought they had great momentum in the first half. They were up by double digits, I believe, and they really shot themselves in the football penalties. I feel like there was a lot of third and longs, second and longs. They had a touchdown called back on a deep throw from Winston. That was a penalty. So I think they really, shot themselves in the foot on their end, and they really lost this game. But hats off to Daniel Jones. I thought he looked poised. In the fourth quarter, he looked calm. He made some big-time throws. Kadarius Toney broke out a little bit, showed what he can do. And Saquon, coming off that injury, I thought he had a good game. He had the game winner. He had a beautiful 56-yard reception touchdown. I thought that was his, kind of coming back party. So he had a phenomenal game, and the Giants get their first win. And, hopefully they can build some momentum and build off that.
Well, what do you think about that Ravens-Broncos game? Ravens end up beating Broncos 23-7. Once again, you had a not so 100% healthy Lamar Jackson, but they were still able to beat the Broncos. Now, the Broncos went into this game 3-0. Is this more a testament to how powerful the Ravens offense is, or does the Broncos defense need a little bit of work?
I mean, I'll say that it's a little bit of both. Lamar Jackson is proving his doubters wrong this year. He's starting to make more plays from the pocket. He stepped up a few times during pressure, stayed in the pocket, was able to find the open receiver. So it's good to see him making that leap that we were all hearing that he was going to make this offseason. Marquise Brown had an incredible touchdown grab in the end zone, and Latavius Murray has taken over kind of the lead back role now in Baltimore. The offense is looking good. I think Denver kind of struggled more because the Ravens are the first really good team or somewhat good team that they faced this year. We said last week, Denver was a surprise 3-0 team, but they really haven't played anyone yet. This was kind of their first litmus test of the season to see how they went. Denver's offense kind of struggled a little bit. That they pride themselves in running the ball. They ran the ball well, but their passing game is more of an efficiency thing.
That's for sure. Then you had the Cardinals versus the Rams, 37-20. Cardinals take that one, and I will tell you, Kyler Murray looks phenomenal right now. There's a lot of conversations that if he continues to play the way he is, that he is going to easily be an MVP front runner. Is it too soon, or is it just solid football play this early in the season?
Yeah, I got to correct you a little bit, Roland. Kyler Murray is the MVP right now.
Whoa!
I mean, he's the MVP flat out. I mean, you just look at what this kid's doing. He's got the Cardinals up 4-0 right now. The Los Angeles Rams coming in. They have all this big hype. They have Super Bowl contender. They're the favorites out of the NFC. They got all this hype after they took down Tampa Bay. And Kyler Murray comes right in and shuts them out. I mean, they couldn't contain him. He was rolling out all day. They had no one to contain him. He was rolling out, throwing, using his legs, doing whatever he had to do to win that game. And they just had no answers for him. So if you're going into week 5 and you're saying the Rams and Tampa Bay are the team to be in the NFC, I think you got to look at Kyler Murray and that Cardinals team and look at the MVP right now, and he might have something to say about it.
Well, I didn't realize that end-of-the-year awards were given out after 4 weeks of football. But,
yes, Jeremy. Let's correct Justice there. Now, Justice was very much, he has conviction in his feelings about Kyler being an MVP, but we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, he's played phenomenal. He's got some incredible weapons around him. His receiving core goes 4 or 5 deep. He's got 2 good running backs in Edmonds and Connor. Even Max Williams was having the big game this past week. So, I mean, it's really hard to contain that offense. I mean, Kyler Murray's just a special player. That's why they ended up, telling Josh Rosen to take a hike. That's why they took Kyler Murray first overall. They wanted to pair Murray with Kingsbury. We're starting to see that fruition, to what they thought it could be. He's definitely the front runner at this point, but there are 13 more games of football to be played. So I feel like it's a little early, but he's on the right track.
That's a great point. So I think the Rams are still there, but yeah, to Justice's point, I think Kyler is playing exceptional football right now. Let's see if he can keep it up. Now, let's go to the creme de la creme. Bears versus Lions. Bears end up winning 24-14. The Bears needed this game for a series of reasons. And let's start with Matt Nagy. Once again, he made the decision to go with Fields, not Falk. What are your guys' thoughts? Did he make the right decision? Now, Fields came back, played a pretty manageable game. Didn't turn the ball over a lot. The sacks definitely decreased. But when it was all said and done, did he do anything that make you believe that he should be the starting quarterback moving for the rest of the season?
Yeah, Fields had a phenomenal game. I think it's hands down his job to lose at this point. I mean, who else are you going to go to? A banged up Andy Dalton, who at best is a backup quarterback in this stage of his career. A Nick Foles, who's pretty much washed up at this point. I mean, I don't really see much out of him. Justin Fields, this was his job to lose. He should have been the starter from week one. I think, it's amazing what he can do when you're not sacked 9 times in a game and you're not running for your life. I mean, if you protect this kid, he can make the throws, he can extend plays, and he can win games for you. So Justin Fields, he's the franchise. He's the franchise for this team. He's going to be that quarterback for the next 10 years or so. So get him in early, get the lumps out early, so come next season, he's primed to take that jump and really take this team to the next level because let me tell you something, this kid's special, and if he gets protected, if they build around him the right way, the Chicago Bears are set up pretty nice for the future.
Yeah, I feel like if they just give that offensive line some more pieces, that could be a very good offense going forward. DJ Montgomery had a big day for them. I think that was a big part of the reason why Justin Fields looked comfortable. A strong running game is the best way to take pressure off a young rookie quarterback. And then Justin was able to make the throws they wanted him to make. His favorite target was Darnell Mooney this past Sunday. Remember that connection going forward, people. That is going to be a combination to watch for the future. Mooney had 5 catches for, I believe, $125. So, that brings an explosive part to their offense that it was lacking with Andy Dalton. So, it's going to be a fun ride for Fields. Obviously, there's probably going to be some more downs this year. There's going to be some more ups, too. But you let him go out there and sort it out. You don't take him off the field now. He's your starter going forward.
Now, the Bears have officially announced that he is the starting quarterback moving into the future, at least the season. With that being said, if Matt Nagy puts Andy Dalton back in, for whatever reason, let's say Field throws, 2 or 3 interceptions in a game, and he goes and says, hey, you know what? The kid looks pretty shaken out there. Let me go back and put Dalton in the game. Would this affect that Bears organization? Or, to your point, you ride and you die with him this season. You know you're going to have some ups. He's a rookie quarterback. You definitely know you're going to have some downs because you got a couple of powerhouse teams you're getting ready to play here in the next couple of weeks. With that being said, do you accept the ups and downs, or at points, do you entertain the thought of putting Andy Dalton back in the game?
Yeah, I feel like I've made my stance on this pretty clear in the past. When we talk about Tua last year, what the Dolphins did with him. Look, in today's game, the quarterbacks nowadays are kind of coddled. Once they get shaken up a little bit and they throw 2 or 3 interceptions, they get taken out of the game, they get benched. I just don't agree with that. I think the best way to learn and to grow is through experience and battling through those rough times. And look, Justin Fields, he's going to have rough times. Every rookie quarterback this year has had rough times through some point of the season. So it's going to happen, but Chicago Bears need to stick with him. They need to give him time. They need to give him protection. And just let this kid grow, man. Because this kid, he has superstar written all over him. And he's going to be special. He just needs to... They need to let him ride this out. No Nick Foles, no Andy Dalton. Their time is done. Give this kid the reins and let this kid take this franchise to the next level.
Well, there you have it. Bears-Lions 24-14. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our quick snap recap brought to you by R2 Sports Management. Now we're going to get into some news earlier in the week that has taken place, and that's Jalen Smith being released by the Dallas Cowboys. Look, the Dallas Cowboys have to eat $7.2 million because of it. Look, when they drafted Michael Parsons, they knew they were getting a gem. And so far this season, he has proven with his lethal speed and his size and energy when he attacks the ball, he is a force to be reckoned with. At the end of the day, is this the right move for the Dallas Cowboys to go ahead and get rid of Jalen and literally put their chips on the table. Hey, they got their guy, Parsons. Parsons is going to be their guy.
Well, I will say this. Jalen Smith's performance this year has been subpar at best. He's overrun tackles. He's not making tackles. He's not good in coverage. From an on-the-field perspective alone, he has not lived up to the money that he was due this year. I think the puzzling part behind it is, like you said, Roland, the Cowboys still owe him $7.2 million this year. That now is just dead cap space. At least if you have Jalen Smith on your roster, he can be there in the building. Something has to have built up behind the scenes, that we are probably not privy to for the Cowboys to make this move.
Yeah, I think this is a basic money-saving move, but I kind of don't agree with it for a few things. First off, what does this do for you right now? I mean, yeah, you save money right now, but what are you going to use it on? I would have waited till the offseason maybe to cut them and save that money. You can't really do anything with that money right now. And we're talking about an extra game this year, 17 games this year. The players are coming back for a full season with a full training camp. Their bodies are still adjusting. You need bodies in your locker room in case someone goes down, in case you got a few guys going down. It's a great problem to have an extra body in this locker room and in every team's locker room. So from a timing standpoint, I don't really agree with it, but I think Jeremy hit on it. Jalen Smith's play has kind of declined over the past few years. That he's overran tackles and whatnot, and he hasn't looked like the same player. But I just think it was an odd timing move, and if someone goes down, God forbid, in that Dallas linebacker room, they could regret it.
Well, to both of your points, and where I tell you what puzzles me a whole lot is the utilization of money. So when we often talk about dead cap space eating up money, before you even get to that point, oftentimes you want to look maybe for a trade out there. Maybe somebody might be able to eat up some of this money for you if they want him. This is a case where you as an organization are deciding upon yourself to eat this up. So it's a little puzzling on how the money aspect works, but I'm quite sure, to Jeremy's point, there's a whole lot behind the scenes that we will never be privy to on what really drove that front office to say, hey, let's go ahead and release this guy. Now, there was also Gilmore. Gilmore was traded to the Panthers. This is a pretty significant trade out there. What do you think he can bring to the Panthers?
Well, he can bring another potentially lockdown corner. They spent their first-round pick on Horn, from South Carolina. This gives them another potential, Pro Bowl corner out on the boundary. I think this was a great move. It makes the Carolina defense that had really improved even better. He won't be able to contribute till week 7. Patriots traded him while he was on the PUP list, so he will have to be inactive through 6 games. But if they get an ounce of the 2019 version of Stephon Gilmore, that's a home run hit, because you're only giving up a 6th-round pick. So, and then Carolina is probably going to look to extend him after the season if he comes through and plays that way, where they have 2 studs out on the boundary for their defense.
Yeah, barring injury and him not having any setbacks, I think this is just a superstar player added to a very talented defense. Jeremy said J.C. Horn, he looked phenomenal when he was on the field, but he got injured. Dante Jackson, who was very underrated to me, he's a phenomenal football player. That's another star corner for them. I think this Panthers defense is so talented, so athletic, so fast. They're just it's a really serious core to mark down and be aware of, because it's a really talented defense. I think from the Patriots standpoint, kind of with the Cowboys with Jalen Smith, it doesn't make sense to me, the timing of it. Yeah, they save about $12 million, but they can't use any of that money right now. I know they're looking to lock down J.C. Jackson in the offseason, which they're probably going to use that money for. But as far as timing, I'm kind of confused by it. I know he's been injured, but he's still a key piece to any defense. He's still a star player. And it's a very big addition for that Carolina Panthers defense.
Speaking of star players, I'm going to switch tones here real quick. We got to hit this topic, and I feel it's imperative that we dig into this topic. Big Ben, Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin. Look, Mike Tomlin, I get it. Him and Big Ben have been riding together, 2 Super Bowls under their belt for a long time. Roughly about 15 years, if I believe the math is correct. somewhere between 13, 15 years. They've been together a long time. It is pretty clear to see on the football field right now that Big Ben is not Big Ben of yesteryear. Big Ben is Big Ben of old year. And his body cannot take it anymore. He cannot get outside the pocket. He cannot throw the ball with vigor anymore to get it down the field. With that being said, no one is willing to pull the trigger yet to say, hey, it is time for us to look in a different direction. He's been dedicated to the Steelers organization. Big Ben is a pillar of this town. He has 2 Super Bowls under his belt. When it's all said and done, it's time to move him to the side, look for a new. But too often when you have a head coach and a quarterback who've been together for so long, it is hard to cut the umbilical cord. Jeremy, I'm coming to you out there because I know you're a big Steeler fan. Is it time to cut the cord with Big Ben?
No, it isn't. And I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but you have to remember who's backing Big Ben up right now. Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins. Those 2 are not good quarterbacks in this league. Mason Rudolph had a chance 2 years ago when Ben went down with injury to make his claim on being the future in Pittsburgh. He did not seize it. Dwayne Haskins, he's still a young quarterback. Yeah, he was a first-round talent. He's got a long way to go. There's no one behind Big Ben right now that makes this offense better.
With that being said, Jeremy, there's no one behind him that makes this team better. But guess what's out there on the free market? There are a couple of free agents out there who you can bring in. So do you put your organization and his team basically second fiddle? And here's what I mean by second fiddle. You know your quarterback is not going to be good this year. You know that right now. Why are you not taking the proper steps to find a quarterback who can at least put you in contentions this year? I know too often with quarterbacks we think, nope, this guy is still the best. He can put you in the right spot. No, he can't. He does not have the energy. He does not have the fortitude. He doesn't have the arm strength. He doesn't have the leg strength or the muscle to carry you through the back end of the season. And I'm only talking about the back end of the season. Heaven forbid if you do get into a playoff scenario, can he carry you deep into the playoffs? The answer right now is no. The one thing I've always said as a head coach, film don't lie. And there is nothing about film right now that says that Big Ben can carry you to the back end of the season. So why don't you go out there and grab another quarterback?
Roland, who else are you going to grab at this point who's going to come in and make this team better? I know Cam Newton's in the back of your mind. Cam Newton is not, he is not any better than Big Ben other than the fact that he is more athletic at this point in his career.
But could Cam put you in better contention against some powerhouses in the AFC right now versus Big Ben?
No, not at all. I understand he's more mobile, but as far as the arm talent, they're about the same at this point in their career. Cam Newton is just as beat up physically as Big Ben is. You know, we saw it all last year. You know, we railed on Cam Newton all last year on how he didn't look interested in playing, how he was slow, all this other stuff. If anything, Pittsburgh just has a young offense. They have a rookie left tackle who needs to improve, a rookie center who needs to improve, a second-year left guard, a young right tackle. The offensive line is young. They're going to get better as the year goes along. They have a good receiving core. Deontay Johnson is their number one receiver. Chase Claypool can complement that. Pat Freiermuth is emerging at tight end. This team just needs a little bit more time to get the offense going because if the defense can play lights out, they're getting a little more healthy there. TJ Watt's coming back. Joe Hayden was back this week. No. Is Big Ben going to lead this team to a magical run? No. But he can at least complement what the defense is giving him. You can still win in the NFL with an efficient offense, an elite defense. That's the Steelers' recipe for success this year. yes, they're going to move on from Big Ben after this year. I have no doubts about it.
All right,
But
I'm going to go ahead and take Jeremy's comments and put it on a shelf, like way back in the shelf area where you got to stick your arms way back and grab something. So now I'm going to swing out to Justice. Justice, we don't have a lot of time remaining left in the show here, but I'm going to swing it out to you. Do you agree with Jeremy's assessment of Big Ben?
Look, my thoughts.
You started that whole comment off with look. I'm asking you a question here. Do you agree with Jeremy's assessment of Big Ben?
I do. I 100% agree with his assessment on Big Ben. There's just no one else you could throw in there that's better than Big Ben. Mason Rudolph has proved he's not the guy. We all know what Dwayne Haskins is. I don't know what more you need to see from him. Cam Newton, he's a former MVP. He's a NFL player, but he doesn't fit the system. He's not going to do much more than Big Ben's going to do right now, and I just think they got to ride it out and then plan ahead next year.
In this last minute of the episode here on the Extra Point, Jeremy, Justice, besides Cam, is there another quarterback on the market that they can go out and get?
I thought there was before week 1 in Gardner Minshew, but Philadelphia picked him up in a trade. Outside of him, I think they could have went after Jacoby Brissett in the offseason, but they chose not to. They went after Dwayne Haskins. I just don't see right now who else could step in, who else they could go out and get. Do you go out and get a Nick Foles, who, let's face it, has proven that he's nothing really outside of Philadelphia? I don't think so, but I mean, I just don't see what else you could do right now. You just got to ride it out. You know, if you start to lose, you get a high draft pick. Maybe you draft one of the quarterbacks, but you got to ride it out and plan ahead next offseason.
Do you think there's a free agent that really wants to get behind that Pittsburgh offensive line at the moment?
That's a little harsh, Jeremy, but it's true. Go ahead.
But no, there's no one that comes to mind that, you know, if you put him in week 5 or week 7, you know, in the next few weeks where he's going to learn the offense quick enough to make it any better than what it currently is. If anything, signing a veteran quarterback, you're taking 3 steps backward.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the argument of the day. I think both arguments are very legitimate. Let's see how it pans out over the next 2 weeks. You've been listening to the Extra Point here on KLAA, and on behalf of Jeremy and Justice, I am your host, R2. We look forward to seeing you further down the road. Have a great weekend.